Hello, and welcome back to the Far From Center podcast. I'm your host, Robert Patrick Lewis, and here, as always, with me is Mike Dawson. I gotta say, sometimes we're going to talk about politics, sometimes we're going to talk about current events, but I try to really just talk about things that I find interesting. So sometimes we're going to go deep, son, and that's what this one is. I truly got to say, this is an episode that is fueled by Alpha Brain because you're really going to need your receptors firing for this one, man. Today we're going to be talking with a Reiki master, Jeannie. So I'm, corn-fed white boy from Texas that grew up pretty conservative. I'm now married to a Buddhist, and my eyes have been open to a lot of other things. I grew up pretty conservative, very religious. I was Southern Baptist. And when I went into the Army, I tried to go Catholic because I didn't think Southern Baptist was hardcore enough for me on the religious spectrum. So some people hear things about Eastern philosophy and things like this, spirituality. And if you're a Christian, some people just think it's sacrilege, but it's not. You'll listen to this interview and hear us go over a lot of things about religion, human consciousness, spirituality. And it's not sacrilege because it's all about your oneness with God. It actually, I think it makes your religion stronger, whatever it is that you are, because as she gets into during this interview, it helps bring your connection to God, or as she says, the source, closer. Now, there's a lot of things that I reference in this interview that you might not understand. I'm going to put some links up on farfromcenter.com so you can follow them. I reference a podcast that I was listening to on the way to her house. It's called Chasing Hermes. You can find it on iTunes. And if you're interested, like I am, about ancient mysticism or ancient religion or pre-Christ Christianity or things called Gnosticism and Hermeticism and all these other things that may be completely foreign to you, but if you're like me and you're a fact-based person and you don't take anything at truth, you want to investigate everything for yourself because you don't really believe the line that's been fed to you your entire life, go check them out. Chasing Hermes is a podcast that is hosted by a couple guys who are in a thing called the Golden Dawn. It's a Hermetic organization. Basically, they study ancient mysticism, ancient mythology, some things that if you were like me growing up, you may have never heard of, may have never been introduced to. But if you're listening to this podcast, chances are you're interested in stuff like that, or at least want to know more and don't believe the line you've been fed your entire life. So I highly suggest you check out their podcast, or just go Google. Check out Golden Dawn, Hermeticism, Hermes, Plato, Aristotle. Those names might be a little familiar, and things like that. So I'm not going to talk too much because we had an amazing interview. We had a pretty long interview. And again, she liked it at the end, so I think we're going to get to have Jeannie back on. But this, I'm calling it the baseline. So this is your chance to kind of understand who she is, what she's all about, why it is that I'm so interested in her. So from now on, if you see one of our episodes that has Jeannie from Angels Touch Reiki on there, you'll know we're going deep, son. So here it is. This is my interview from last night with Jeannie from Angels Touch Reiki. Again, you can find her on Facebook at Angels Touch Reiki. You can find her on angelstouchreiki.com, and you can follow the links on farfromcenter.com. Please click through the banners, get yourself some on it, because you're going to need some alpha brain for this one. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and prepare for your mind to be blown. Okay, everybody, we are sitting down with Jeannie from Angels Touch Reiki. I'm going to give a plug at the end of our conversation, but I'd like to give a plug right now as well for anybody out there listening. You can find her at Angels Touch Reiki on Facebook, or you can also find her at angelstouchreiki.com. My wife and I actually found her, and since the first time I met Jeannie, I've wanted to sit down and do something like this because I just have a million questions. And she's a little nervous because this is the first time she's done something like this, but this is the first time I've done something like this as well. So hopefully it doesn't come through. Hopefully we can have her come back because I think we have so many different things we can cover together and hopefully expand everybody's mind about a little bit of the world and the universe around you that, a lot of people don't hear about every day. Things that I didn't even know existed a year ago. But I've always had the question in the back of my mind about. So hopefully we can answer some of those questions. If it intrigues you, go check her out at Angels Touch Reiki on Facebook or angelstouchreiki.com. So to start off, the easiest sometimes and the hardest sometimes question, I guess, Jeannie, is who are you? Can you just tell a little bit about yourself to our audience? I've introduced you as a Reiki master and a Reiki teacher. For somebody, well, let's just not even go into the Reiki part. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, my name is Jeannie Russell, and I'm the owner of Angels Touch Reiki. And if you want to know how to spell Reiki, it's Reiki, but pronounced Raykey. I have a Reiki center in Santa Clarita, California, where I teach all levels of Reiki, as well as other classes, other spiritual classes.
And I've actually heard, I did a little bit of research after the first time I came here and saw you. I've heard there's two different kinds of Reiki, right? I think there's Japanese and Tibetan. Is that right, or is it?
There's a lot of different kinds of Reiki.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
The original Reiki is Yasui. Yasui Reiki. Since that originated back in the 1800s, there has been probably, I'm going to say, over 3 dozen other different kinds of Reikis that people have channeled through. I'm also Karuna Reiki Master Teacher. That's another kind of Reiki. And there's a lot of other different kinds of Reikis. And I can't even tell you how many different names, but the original one is the Yasui Reiki, and that's the one that I learned from Japan.
Okay. So maybe before we get too into it, can you explain what Reiki is? Is there a unifying theme that unifies all these different types, or are they all vastly different?
Well, it's channeled energy. It's channeled universal life force energy. For a person to be able to practice Reiki, they need to be attuned by a qualified Reiki master teacher. Reiki is a hands-on healing technique for stress reduction, has other health benefits as well. Reiki, we have energy centers in our body, and what the Reiki practitioner will do will put their hands on the energy centers as well as other joints and things that are maybe physical ailments that people have, break up that energy. The energy is channeled through the practitioner, breaks up old thought patterns, maybe things that people have gone through in the past,
like
abuse,
traumas and abuse,
things like that people have kept inside of themselves and didn't get it out. It breaks that up to be released and brought out of the body to be released.
Okay.
So basically, it's almost like people have put a lot of darkness inside of their bodies through their traumas, their issues, whatever they are, kept it inside their body. Reiki goes in, puts light in the body. So, and every time somebody gets a Reiki treatment, the light goes in the body, some of the darkness comes out. Mm-hmm. Light, which is the energy, the universal life force energy, goes in the body, some of that darkness comes out, till eventually all that darkness is broke up, been released, comes out, and there's basically just light in the body.
But with all the darkness in the world that any one of us encounter on a day-to-day basis, and I know my wife and my mother-in-law tell me that I need to do it all the time, basically, because I work in a hospital. You know, I work in one of the top teaching hospitals in the world, right. So I'm around some of the worst of the worst of the worst all day, every day. You know, I hear babies crying every day on their way to surgery. It just breaks my heart, and I know a part of that comes into me. You know, and that's actually one of the questions I wanted to ask a little bit later, but I got this black obsidian, and I know there's a lot of talk about like crystals and things like that. How does that kind of work?
This is a black tourmaline.
Black tourmaline. Sorry, yeah, I'm a layman with everything.
That's okay. So. But it looks the same. It looks the same as a black tourmaline. Yeah, crystals, black tourmaline in itself will help ground somebody, help keep darkness away, dark entities away from people. But you have to do the work as well. Mm-hmm. There's other things you need to do as well. But that does help. Keeping that in your pocket helps. There's crystals that'll help bring abundance to you. Crystals have benefits, and I use crystals in my Reiki session to amplify energy onto the client. to help release or bring that particular energy. For instance, rose quartz opens up your heart to unconditional love, so you would put that on their heart as you're giving them Reiki, and that amplifies that energy, helping open the heart so they can have more unconditional love.
So, and you said at the beginning that you have the energy centers. Is that basically the same as your chakras?
The chakras.
It
The
is the
chakras
chakras,
are, yes,
okay.
a lot of people don't know what chakras are, but yes, they are the energy centers in our body. And we have 7 major energy centers, 7 major chakras. We also have minor ones in our feet, in our hands, in our knees, and things like that. So you want to balance those. It's like tuning up of a car.
Mm-hmm.
You want to keep those in tune, your energy centers tuned up, so you can have the quality of life. You can go about your business and be healthier and think clearer. It's like your car. If you don't maintain it, it's going to break down. So you want to maintain your chakra, your energy centers, so that you can run better. Your body can run better. Your mind, your spirit, your emotions.
It's really funny that you say it that way. So I was in 18 Delta. I was a medic. I was a Special Forces medic. And the course that you go through, it's really cerebral. I mean, it's a year long. They're trying to put med school into 1 year. And you have a lot of Army and military guys. And for that course, we have SEALs, Rangers, Green Berets, everybody. And you're trying to basically teach knuckle draggers to be doctors. And so we would always equate everything with a car. We would always say, you're having trouble understanding the body and the human circulatory system or your lungs, think about a car. Think about a carburetor. That's basically your lungs. Think about your battery and all this. And it's a really easy way to break it down. It's funny that you say that, because that's how I learned about the body, like the body physically and mechanically, by equating it with a car, and you're equating it spiritually with a car.
Right.
So it's funny how you can break stuff down.
Well, yeah, if you ignore the car, it's going to break down. If you ignore your body, and that's going to break down as well. You've got to pay attention and listen to the signals when you're out of balance.
I think that's a big problem with people these days, is everybody's looking for the easy answer. I want a pill I can take, or I want one thing that I can do, or one book that I can read, or some fad that I can do, and it's going to magically make me better, and I'll never have to do it again. They don't understand, like you said, you got to do the work.
You have to do the work. You can lead people on this table to give them a Reiki session, but unless they do their part, I can't. I'm not doing the healing. I'm just the channel. I'm just the channel for the healing. And I'm bringing the energy in through a life force energy, or God, or however people want to interpret that. But the person on the table, when this stuff is being brought up to the surface, because your old issues will be brought up to the surface, it's up to you to look at them and either keep the same patterns as you've been, doing, or you can release them and try to improve and become a better person. But the Reiki will break up the issues, bring them to the surface, and you will, after Reiki session, go, why is that coming up? That was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's up to you to look at that and go, okay, let's deal with this. Let's make amends if I need to, or forgive myself or forgive others and let it go. Or you can keep it and keep your pain.
Right. Yeah. And
you have choices there.
Some of us, I do, when I was on the mental illness happy hour, that was one of the things that Paul and I were talking about, that kind of sadomasochism that some of us do have inside, where sometimes you just go, I know it's pain, but I kind of like it. Some people do kind of like that pain.
Some people keep their pain. Yeah. And some people don't know how to deal with releasing it as well. Some people are comfortable in their pain. Some people want to stay in their darkness. But I think if you've hit that bottom enough times and you've lost, if you're married, you may lose your family, or you may lose a job, family, be on the street. Once you hit that bottom, you'll do anything to get up. You don't want to keep that pain anymore. J.K.
Rowling wrote the Harry Potter series, and I'm a big quote person. I read a lot of quotes from other successful people that I try to help motivate me, and she has one that I just saw that said, rock bottom is the solid foundation I built all of my success upon. Because it was, if you know anything about her, Harry Potter were the stories that she was telling her kids to go to sleep when she was basically homeless and didn't have any food. They had nothing. She had absolutely no money. She had absolutely nothing to feed her family, to house her family, to do anything. And I think she had given that manuscript to basically every agent that there was. Nobody would put it out. Finally, somebody did. Now she's the richest woman in the world.
Right.
So that's a pretty solid foundation, I think.
Yeah. You do have to hit a bottom in order to come back up sometime. Yeah. Most of the time, for most people. Yeah.
It's an amazing thing about the human spirit where a lot of the most successful people have that. They only are successful because they learn from their failures.
Their mistakes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's all that pain.
Yeah, and I don't look at it as mistakes. I look at it as lessons in life.
As long as you learn from it, I think.
Yeah. Learn your lessons.
Yeah. So you talked about channeling and how basically doing Reiki, you are channeling. Can you talk a little bit about what that is for somebody who doesn't really understand anything about it?
So I guess if I visualize it, I'm standing in front of a person and I'm bringing in the life force energy. I'm in a higher state of consciousness when I'm working on people. I just really lift my consciousness up. And I don't put my ego in it, like, oh, I got to fix this person, I have to do that. I'm working from a higher source. So I move my ego aside, and I just allow that energy to run through me. And I can feel the energy running through me, and the person on the table can feel the energy if they're sensitive to energies, or they may feel the heat from my hands coming through.
And I can attest to that, and that's... I got to admit, and it's hard to do it in front of you, but the first time I did it, I was kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. But my mom always taught me, try anything, because you never know. It could be the greatest thing in the world. It could be your new favorite food. It could be anything. Right. Try everything. If more than one person swears by it and is behind it, there's probably something to it. At least give it a shot. And so I was kind of half in, half out. But that was the first thing that struck me was feeling the heat off your hands that weren't even touching me when you put them over me. And that's when the instant I knew there was something to it, because I opened my eyes and looked, and you weren't touching me. Your hands were not close enough for me to feel your heat, but I felt the heat, and I could feel you moving everywhere you went, and I could feel the crystals, and I could feel everything.
The energy, yeah.
Unbelievable. For any kind of a skeptic, try it. I mean, you have to try it, and if you are still a skeptic when you're done, I want you to explain to me. Go to farfromcenter.com, go to the Facebook page, explain to me how you can have that feeling and still be a skeptic. And if it's not the energy that she talks of, tell me what you think it is, because I got no other explanation. Sorry, so I'm sorry that I interrupted you, but no. So the heat with channeling, you're feeling the heat coming off. Yeah.
So basically, I'm moving myself out of the way. So when you're channeling anything, you're out of the way. It's coming through your crown chakra right here above your head. It's coming through your crown. The energy's coming. It's running through your body, but it's coming into your heart and out into your hands. So it's being channeled, it's being brought through to you, and I don't think anything, I don't do anything in particular. I just allow that energy to flow, and it's going to flow where it needs to go. I could be working on your head chakra, your crown chakra, and if you've got pain in your knee, that energy is going to go through your knee, and you might feel it in your knee. Mm-hmm. That energy is going to go where it needs to go. It's got its own innate intelligence. Right. I don't have to do anything. It's being channeled from a higher source. It's
like electricity in a sense where, that's that whole thing. If you have rubber boots, you're not going to get electrocuted because energy, it's the same thing. Everything in nature looks for the easiest path, the path of least resistance, and it finds the easiest way out. And if there's a way out, it's going to get out. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because it is energy. I mean, Reiki is essentially energy, and electricity is energy. And I think that's what a lot of people have trouble understanding. I had that lucky part of me where I did the pre-med classes, so I've been through enough chemistry and biochemistry and biology where I understand when you talk about vibrational energy and vibrations, I understand that, like on the quantum level that, we're sitting in front of two tables and they look as solid as they can be. They're wood tables. But at the quantum level, there's nothing solid about them. It's all energy that's moving all the time.
Yes, energy's in everything.
We perceive it as solids. We don't understand that. It really, if we could see things at the quantum level, it would look like the Matrix. Everything is moving all the time around us. And that's why I'm so interested by this, because that idea of vibrational energy, and when you get into the more esoteric ideas about it, about the ideas that we're all at certain wavelengths, and you talk about this a lot, and I'd like to get into it more, how we're on wavelengths and our wavelengths can counteract each other, And we see it in nature. We've seen it in nature for a very long time. Chemists and physicists study that, about how there's quantum entanglement, about how two atoms can be encoded with certain information, and when they're close together, and then once you bring them apart, they both still have that same information because their vibrational energies have been brought together like that. But like anything else, we don't want to apply that to humans. You know, like you can have a fundamentally Christian or Jewish or any other organized religion physicist doing these things all day long, but once they leave the lab, they lose that ability to look at it in humans and realize that we are the same thing. We're made up of these same molecules. Of course we're going to have that same interaction.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No, this is quantum physics, yeah. No, it's all right. It's fine.
So it's interesting because it brings up that I had always wondered why you were doing that thing where you rub the hands and kind of pull it out of the hands. So you really are. That's pulling the energy out of the hands.
I'm pulling negative energy out of your hands, yes.
And that's why you're on my hands so much, because I got a lot.
I can see, because I'm clairvoyant,
Mm-hmm.
I can see that to me it looks black.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm pulling it out because I'm breaking up the energy in your body with the light. It's breaking it all up, but it's got to come out.
Right.
So this is why we have cleansing cycles after the Reiki sessions. You go through cleansing cycles, and you might feel a little icky the next day. You drink a lot of water afterwards. You might be emotionally off balance, but it's because you're going through a cleansing cycle, because that darkness is now finally, that was sitting in your body, it's coming up, and it's got to be released. It's going to come out through your intestines, your intestinal system, or your lungs. You know, these are big things. It's got to come out some way. And that's one of the ways I help to get it out, is by pulling it off the arms, out of the fingers, and I see it as black. Mm-hmm. And then I transmute it, so it's not going in my floor or anything. Right. I'm transmuting into a St. Germain's purple light. I'm pulling it out of the legs, the toes, and you feel lighter when you're done with the Reiki session. You feel great.
It knocks me out. I mean, and that's another thing, you know, for that skeptical part of my brain. If I had any doubt by the time I was done, I am jello. I mean, by the time I'm finished, I am jello. Jeannie did me for my first one, and then my mother-in-law was taught by Jeannie, and it was another very interesting thing. Jeannie was very specific and said, after you do one, you know, for your first session, you have to do 3 in pretty rapid succession. And so Jeannie did 1, and my mother-in-law did the next 2. And the first one, I was kind of okay, drank a lot of water, went home. The following 2, I was done. I mean, at just jello, just putty. I mean, could barely even get off the table. And any
Does that mean because you were relaxed?
Yeah, I mean, I totally relaxed. Okay. I mean, absolutely, positively, as relaxed as I could be, but just like I was coming out of a haze, or like I was in a haze. I could feel there was some kind of energy shift and change within my body and consciousness, which, again, it just, there is no way I could be skeptical about it from feeling that kind of physical change, because you look at ceteris paribus, all else being equal, everything else for that day. I didn't eat abnormally more before I did it. I didn't, do any drugs or drink a lot of alcohol or do anything else that would explain my being that tired.
Right.
But sitting on a table for 1 hour, and like I've done 1 hour massages, I've done, yoga. I do a lot of yoga, meditation. None of that has anything to do with this. I was jelly. I mean, done, man. Just absolutely done when I was finished. And that's part of what helped me see the light, And that's one of the big questions I wanted to get into as well. So everybody listening to this knows I'm a Freemason, and one of the big things with Freemasons is, that sacred number 3. And if you go into anything, it kind of flows through any educational, inspirational, or spiritual source. Those holy numbers of 3, 7, and depending on where you're coming from and what school you're going through, there's a lot of other numbers, but. Yeah. That anytime somebody says 3 times, do you have to do this 3 times, or this is 3, or a number is done with 3, or there's 3. Anybody ever wonder why there's 3 doors at the front of all churches? And the Holy Trinity, the 3 Great Pyramids, 3 everything. So what is the reason at the beginning you have to do 3 Reiki sessions?
3's a mantra. Mantras are very powerful. Mm-hmm. 3 is because it takes that long in Reiki. it takes that long to, if you're going through something, a real cleansing, if you've had a real hard issue or a physical problem, let's say cancer, or you've got a lot of darkness inside of you, a lot of negativity, a lot of things that have happened to you you've kept inside, it takes 3 sessions to actually get that broken up to be released.
Right.
Now, the average person that has had no issues in their lives, have had a great childhood, no problems, they can do 1 session. Is that possible?
Do those people exist?
I don't know.
I've never met one.
I'm not sure. There's a few, but not very many. But for those people, getting a regular Reiki session once every couple months, every 6 months, just to get themselves balanced is great. But somebody who has a lot of issues, yes, they need to do the 3 in a row. It's going to benefit them. You want to bring those issues up to the surface as fast as you can to be released as fast as they can.
Right.
It helps, and it starts a cleansing cycle for them. And then they need to do regular weekly sessions afterwards to keep breaking that stuff up and get it out. It can be uncomfortable, because I've been there. It can be uncomfortable physically, emotionally, and you're like, oh my God. But you keep it up because you know that there's light at the end of this tunnel, and you keep doing it, and you get that darkness out, and then eventually you're like this whole totally different person.
Yeah.
And you see the light again. You have hope. You have hope that there's a future for you. A lot of people go, why am I here on this earth? What's my life purpose? They don't know. They're so boggled down with this darkness that they just can't get out of it. Reiki allows you to be able to see that light, gives you hope again, helps you to heal all of the emotional stuff, physical stuff, whatever. That's if you're willing to do the work.
Right. And I think that really touches on one of our big issues in society today. Everything used to be founded in the church. Back in our recent history, everything in humanity was founded in the church. Like, people got all of their spirituality, all of their education, all of their social issues and cues from the church, and people are losing that. I mean, that's gone. Like, most people are either on the fence or out of or wholeheartedly in, but it's not the way that it used to be, where the entire society was centered around a church. That's not to say our society has lost spirituality or belief in God, but I think especially with the pedophile cases with the Catholic Church and a lot of the things that people are starting to see with the media being able to publicize all these things that are going on, people are starting to see, these are people too, and, it's that whole holier than thou and do as I say, not as I do. And a lot of people are losing faith and looking for other forms of spirituality because people ask questions. And even if you don't confide in the church, you still want to know, where do I come from? How do I fit into the universe? Like, what is my purpose? And there are a lot of people that, they're still skeptics at the end of the day, and some people that have a hard time grasping the idea of a soul and spirituality and even personal spirituality outside of a church, that you can be spiritual without having to go to church and sit down and kneel and pray. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that if you're a church-going person, because that energy thing, I'm a deist, basically. I believe in God, but I'm still struggling to find what his name is. But I find we go to a church near us that's a very good church, and it's got a lot of great people. And I find, and this is part of my kind of Freemason mentality, that it doesn't matter what it is or where it is. If it's a positive message and you have a large group of people focused on that same positive message, and it doesn't matter who that person is outside of those walls, if that person is there focused on a positive message and everybody is focusing on that positive message, you get that positive message. You feel positive. You feel better, even if it's only for that hour or 2 hour service or mass. Everybody being focused intently on goodness, it's good for everybody. And that's what I feel like I get here, because it tunes you into that. I think Reiki...
You live it.
Yeah. Instead
of hearing it from a book or somebody reading it from a book. You live your spiritual truth. You live it every day. I believe that all paths lead to God.
Right.
Whether it's Buddhism, Catholic, Christian, Hinduism, whatever it may be, I believe all paths lead to God. And you have to just go what you believe in your heart works for you. Now, I personally don't believe in organized religion. I don't believe it's for everybody. I mean, I believe in God, yes. I was Catholic. I was raised Catholic. I no longer go to the Catholic Church. I don't think it's bad or anything like that. It's just not for me. I found my spirituality through meditation, through doing positive affirmation, doing my Reiki. This is my temple. My home is my temple. Mm-hmm. This is it for me. I can have my personal connection with God myself. I can pray here. I don't believe I need to go to a church to do that or confess my sins to somebody else. I can do that and talk to God myself here in my home. Or out in the street or wherever I choose to do it, in my own personal space or the car, whatever. So that's my belief. Everybody has different beliefs. But I live it. I live what I teach, and I live that. Mm-hmm. I couldn't be a hypocrite and teach it and not live it. I mean, I couldn't do that. Some people
do. Some people
yes,
do.
Yes, they do. Yes. And I every day I do it. I bring my vibration up. And I've been to church, and I questioned it. I was the one person that questioned it. It was like, okay, why do I have to confess to somebody else? Why can't I just tell them my sins? Or here, say a Hail Mary and a Our Father, and then, okay, you're done. You're okay. You've been forgiven of your sins. I would rather look at what I did, make amends for it, and learn that way than just say an Our Father. That didn't mean much to me.
Right.
Like, okay, I can go do this again and then say this, and I'll be okay. Mm-hmm. I'll be forgiven of my sins. I would rather learn the lessons in life and learn them that way, and forgive myself or forgive others and go about it that way. Than I don't know. I was questioned a lot when I went to church.
Yeah, and I think anybody.
And it was repetitive.
Yeah, very, very repetitive, and you never get that whole. You go to church to talk to God, but in church you never get to talk to God. You get to talk to a priest or preacher
right.
or whoever it is.
A go-between.
Yeah, and that's, and it's a very strong argument for the people who say church is an organized religion or nothing but a business. Because with so many people getting into Eastern philosophy and Eastern religion and spirituality, that's what meditation essentially is, connecting with your one self and then communicating with God.
Listening to your inner self.
And a lot of Christians have trouble with that idea. Even though you're talking to God, even though it's you being so spiritual and religious that you want to cut out the middleman and you want to talk to God. Yet there are Christians out there who think that would be sacrilege, trying to get closer to God your own self, which it boggles my mind because that's just the way that I am in everything I do, get to the source.
Right.
And I think it is because religion... it is organized. And whether you'll call it a business or whether you'll call it whatever you want to, they don't want you to cut out that middleman. They want you to go there, even though you're trying to do what they're preaching and teaching you to do. They'd rather have you do it with them. So,
right. And but then there's the flip side of that coin where you said people go to church and they get what they need.
Yeah.
At that vibration, they're really getting connected in that church, and I guess that's good for them. So I don't want to judge that as either, because they're getting something out of that.
That is a good point. And even if it's not church, most churches will have other groups and pastor groups and youth groups, and ours has at least 100 different small groups that you go to. And it's not in church, but it's around a bunch of people that are good-hearted people focusing on the same thing, and it's just communing with good people.
Right, yeah. So, it's just not for me, that's all. But, my kids and, some of them are real religious, and that works for her, Mm-hmm. It's just, I guess it has to be your own personal thing that you do. Right.
Yeah. So now we've covered religion. We should get to politics, and then we'll be covering them all. One that I really want to ask, because we talked about the channeling and what Reiki is essentially. I know what I get or what I feel when you're doing Reiki on me. Mm-hmm. What do you feel? I know you said you saw. And is that like an aura? You said you see kind of the black, like the bad, negative stuff coming out.
The Earthbound Spirits.
That's Earthbound Spirits.
Yes, those are Earthbound Spirits.
Can you explain that a little bit? Because I've
to
heard
people
it.
that don't understand that.
Yeah, exactly what that is.
Yeah, and that doesn't really have to be a part of Reiki, but that's just a part of what I do to make people feel better. They'll come in here and they'll have this look in their eye. It's a darkness, actually. And the look on their face, and I know they've got something attached to them. As soon as I get them on the table and I get in their energy field, I can feel the darkness on me. And then I look and I see dark entities. And it would be like seeing a ghost maybe, but dark, black. Mm-hmm. Okay, and the feeling would be like, oh, just a terrible feeling, an icky feeling, a weigh you down feeling. And the person that they're attached to will feel depressed, angry a lot, depressed, angry, scared. It brings out fear in them. But that's what attracts earthbound spirits to people. And there's a lot of things. There's bars, drinking a lot, being addicted to drugs. And I'm not talking about your occasional drink. I'm talking drinking a lot of alcohol on a daily basis. Yes, out of control. They'll attach themselves. Earthbound spirits are spirits that are actually people that have lived on this earth and have passed away, but there are a negative energy. Maybe people have committed suicide and they're earthbound because they don't feel like they're worthy of God, so they don't move up into the light and go up into heaven or God, up there. So they stay here earthbound on this earth. Also murderers, rapists. We're talking dark energies, so it's negative energies.
Not a demon or like in the maybe I should step up before
the church might call them demons. And people from Mexico, they actually believe they are, possessions and things like that.
Right.
I see them as earthbound. These are people that were living here on this earth who have crossed over, or not crossed over to the other side, but they're still earthbound. They're dead, they've died, but they're earthbound, and they create havoc among the living people.
Right.
But we're talking negative. We're talking murderers, rapists, alcoholics who didn't believe in God that don't go up into the light. We're talking Hitler. We're talking people like that who, never believed in God, which is why they're still earthbound.
Right.
Okay.
So rather than that old archetypal image of heaven, earth, and hell, you say there's basically heaven, and that you either go to heaven or you're stuck here for the rest of your life.
Pretty much, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that's my belief system and what I've seen. And like I said, this isn't something I get out of a book. This is what I've experienced.
Right.
Okay, so what I'm telling you is what I get out of it, but I've experienced everything. So, yes, I get them off of the people. That's the first thing I do when I get in their energy field is I use Archangel Michael. He comes in and he helps remove them from the person. And when they get on somebody, it also closes their crown chakra, which is their connection to source. So you can't, at that point, you can't do your own thinking. You're like, oh, what do I do here? You question everything. The earthbound spirits also, close that off. So you're depressed, you're angry, you don't know why you have suicidal thoughts sometimes. Getting these earthbound spirits off people, and I've seen hundreds on people at times. People that have worked in mental hospitals. Worked at hospitals, mental hospitals, things like that. I've seen, just tons of them, and just constantly just bringing them up and up and up until they're gone up into the light with Archangel Michael, who helps do this. And then when I get done with the person, open up all their energy centers again, they are like as light as a feather. They're not depressed. They leave here with a sparkle in their eye, with a smile on their face, and they feel great again. And it's just in a 1 hour time. But it is up to them again to not get in that situation where they're attracting the earthbound spirits in the first place.
Right. So it's weakness. They basically look for weakness.
Yes, they look for weakness. Yes, absolutely. They look for people who are negative all the time in a negative space, and they help them to be more negative. They feed off of that.
Right.
Alcoholics, they feed off that alcoholism. Rapists, they get in there, and that energy is really awful. They feed off of anger, fear, people that are in fear, drug abuse, they feed off of that as well. They want that energy of the drugs.
So is it that same, just like anything has to find its host, any parasite has to find its host somehow.
Absolutely.
A virus looks for a weakened immune system, and like mosquitoes look at us because we give off carbon dioxide. Do you think they look for lower vibrational energy? Are they somehow tuned into that? They see it and they
they
feed
see
on
it, they feel it. Yes, they do. So if somebody's in a very high vibrational energy, because I've seen them, they look at me and they go, ew, They don't want anything to do with me. It's like they're scared. They don't want, I'm the opposite. I'm the light. They don't want anything to do with that. They won't attach themselves to me. If you stay in a high vibration and light, they're not going to come around you. So that's why I try to impress that on everybody. Try to stay up in that high vibration so you don't attract that into your life.
Well, it's that same path of least resistance that I guess everything in nature follows. If you're going to be a tough cookie to crumble, then they're just going to stay away and go
it's
find an easy lunch.
like attracts like as well. Yeah. And that's as people, friends, and it's also that like attracts like. If you're at a lower energy, you're going to attract lower energy friends, relationships, people into your life. Beings from the other dimensions, they're going to attract that into your life as well.
So because it gets tossed around a lot with the lower and higher vibrational energies, how could somebody control that on their own? Like, how can somebody determine their vibrational energy? To me, it's easy.
It's staying in a positive state, staying in a very positive state of mind. Now, for some people, that may be hard. I mean, there's people that don't have jobs and, they've got a lot going on. But there's so many ways you can get out of that and control that. Reiki is just one of the ways to get yourself in balance. There's many. I mean, people can go to psychologists. They can get help that way. Acupuncturists.
Yoga
is one of the ways. But they all work together in unison, too. So, I mean, for me to stay in balance, I get up every morning and I meditate. First thing in the morning while I brush my teeth. Then I go in and I meditate. And I meditate for, most people, 20 minutes is sufficient. And they'll get that connection to God, that connection to Source, surrounding yourself with the white light of the Holy Spirit, protecting yourself that way. But meditating every day, positive affirmations help people that are negative. And sometimes that's just programmed into them. It's just part of their nature. It's part of something they do every day. It's just they don't know how to do anything different than stay in that negative.
Right. It's hard to get out of a funk.
For some people, I know how to get out of it, but every day, like I was teaching a class today on telepathic communication, and one of the lessons in there for everybody was to get a journal and write every day 5 or 6 things you're grateful for. So when you're in that grateful state and you're looking every day at night when you're going to bed and you write down something you're grateful for every day, and it could be the smallest thing. I'm grateful for the parking space I got today. I'm grateful for the person that smiled at me today. I'm grateful for getting a check in the mail. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my kids. And the more you do this every night, and I've been doing it for probably over 15 years. And I'm in a state of gratitude all the time. I never see the negative in anything. Anything. Because you're always in a state of gratitude. And it also attracts more gratitude to you in your life. You put that out in the universe, it's going to come back to you in a positive way.
It's very closely tied to that law of attraction and the secret.
It's law of attraction, absolutely. Yeah. So if you do this every night, you're always in a constant state of gratitude. You're not going to have anything else.
So just be happy, basically. Be happy, be positive, people need to line up. Yeah.
It's not that bad. No, but there's people that need help, and they just need to find their way, and there's a lot of ways to do it. But yeah, staying in the high vibration is meditation, prayer, affirmations, and prayer. What for me, prayer is just thanking God every day for your blessings. Thank you for my life, my home, my job, my family, and then just praying for other people, that need your prayers, and turning over your things that you have problems with, your daily activity, your daily life, like maybe you can't find a job, or you've got issues, addictive behavior or whatever. You turn that over to God and you say, okay, God, I really can't deal with this. It's hard for me. I'm going to turn this over to you. I'm going to give this over to you, God, and you handle it for me. Give your stuff to him every day and let it go and let him deal with it. Let him handle that for you. And you just let it go. And see what happens, because you don't have control of your life. He does.
Well, and it's funny because that's the biggest step in Alcoholics Anonymous, their 12-step program.
This is true, yeah.
The people that are the most successful can do that, and the people that are the least successful with that program specifically are the ones that cannot do that cannot understand there is a higher power over you. There's a higher power over you. Whatever you
Right.
call it. If you want to call it God or Jehovah
exactly.
or anything else.
Whatever you want to call it.
But we're just, we're just microscopic particles of dust.
small,
We're stardust,
little-
you know, and no matter where you come up on it, and it gets in that huge philosophy that we don't have time to go over now or in a million podcasts, but even if the Big Bang is true, that had to come from somewhere.
Absolutely.
That's the thing. And that's, that eternal chicken and the egg question. Well, where did that thing come from? But you get to that point, and once you can understand, no matter how scientifically you want to put it, it all had to start from somewhere before science, that science cannot, very metaphysical, that we can't explain in the physical. And you have to in some way acknowledge, even if you're not going to respect or pray to or do, you have to at least acknowledge that exists there somewhere.
Right.
And I think that's the most successful programs that I've seen in anything, whether it be, I've never done Alcoholics Anonymous, but from talking with Dr. Drew and a lot of other people, I know that's one of their fundamental principles. Religion, anything positive that I've found, that's one of the key tenets is that ideology.
Yeah, that's true. I know that when I hit my bottom, and that was many times, but my very last bottom I hit, it was like I was done. And I just said, okay, and because I had that Catholic background, it helped me. It really helped me because I said, okay, God, I can't do this anymore. I need your help. And as fast as I said that, I got the help I need. And it wasn't I had to look for the signs. I mean, somebody just came up to me with meditation tapes that I barely knew and came to my front door and said, I think you should listen to these meditation tapes. And I went, okay. And I was so desperate for help because I went to the medical doctor and they went, oh, well, here's some pills. And I took one of those and it made me worse. I felt so anxious and I threw those down the toilet. And I was so desperate for help, but when he brought those to me and said, you should try these will make you feel better, they'll help with your anxiety, and I went, okay. And instead of listening to them once a day, I was listening to 3-4 times a day. And I mean, the help came to me that quickly, and it lifted me up. But I knew that I did not want to be in that dark place anymore. So I did whatever I had to do to get out of that. So I started listening to the guidance. Okay, meditation, let's do that. There's a lady who does meditations. We'll go to her circle. Okay, we'll listen. We'll do that. We did meditations in her circle, and she just happened to be a Reiki master teacher out here in Newhall. And so I started going to her for getting Reiki sessions. And like I said, miserable at first, but that darkness was coming out, and the light was, and I started feeling better and better. And so I had to hit a bottom. I had to truly, but I had to ask for help too.
Mm-hmm. And be open to the signs when the help was coming.
And I had to watch the signs too. You have to look for the signs as well.
Yeah.
But you have to ask for the help because it wasn't until I asked for the help, and it was almost like I had to surrender and go, okay, I'm done. I can't take this anymore. I can't live like this. I need help, or I'm checking out. Basically. Well,
and that just might be another. I subscribe to this idea of Hermeticism and a lot of these Hermetic teachings, and I believe that there is an idea that we are all united by a single consciousness, that there is a vibrational energy that we all exhibit, that we all might not be one. Well, we might all be one organism in the end. I mean, we're all connected
created in the image of God.
Yeah,
all of us.
And
so we are all one. We are all connected.
And then there's those, there's other ideologies that say we are God, and that's not in an egotistical sense. It's because we are created in God's image. Because we are
created in God's
image. He's omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent, and He created us in His own image. He gave, if you believe that He sent His only begotten Son here for to die for our sins, then He was made man. We are essentially the same as Him. We are a part of Him, so we would all be godlike in that kind of.
But a lot of people don't know that they're godlike, and so they don't realize their full potential inside of them, that they can do anything.
And that's got to be a whole nother. I hope that God you'll come back, because I really want to do a whole conversation with you on that specific thing, because that's one of the people hear about Freemasons and all they think about are conspiracy theories and we're trying to destroy the world. The true idea of Freemasons is that we believe in the human potential, and that most humans are nowhere near their own potential and don't care about it and aren't following it.
You're right.
And we try to help people, and that's the thing. A Freemason can't ask you to become a Freemason. It has to be something that comes to you. And I hate to say it like this, but same as Reiki. Yeah, it has to come to you, and you have to say, this is for me, this is what I want to go do. And once you come to Freemasonry, that's our entire thing, is trying to help you unlock your potential, trying to make good men better, to help the rest of the world, to make you a vessel to help the rest of the world.
And that's me as a Reiki master teacher. I try to help empower people to get their power back so they can find themselves again. A lot of people are lost.
And you feel better. I mean, it's amazing that now for me, that is immediately when I'm done, again, I'm jello. I'm absolutely done. But the next day, there's an extra pep in my step. Like I'm just a little chipper. And for me, a guy that normally has 10 ideas a day, I have 1,000. Like I can't, write enough Post-it notes or emails.
Because you're clear. Your channels have been opened and you're
like
clear.
Like you said, you've got that direct connection to the source.
That's right.
It's right source, there, and that you're not muddled and puddled and dark anymore.
Right, exactly.
It really is an amazing feeling, and I can't stress it enough that even if you are a skeptic, you should try it once, because you owe it to yourself to find the way to be the best person you can and unlock the potential that you have as a human being created in God's image. You owe it to yourself and you owe it to Him to be the best that you can be. So why not try it? Why not try something that other people have found to lead them the right way? Do yoga, do meditation. It's funny because we had a team of Green Berets in Afghanistan, and we would sneak away every morning and go do yoga together. And you'd see a lot of other guys in the Army that would see us walking with their yoga mats and go, what are those guys doing? They're stupid, all from California, crazy, hippies. But you know who taught us to do yoga? A UFC fighter. Like we had a guy that was a UFC, a fighter that came and taught us combatives. And we had seen him someday. He was teaching us combatives, and one of my guys had a bad shoulder. Another guy had a bad knee. We all had these other things that were going on with our body. And he went, hey, man, I know I'm teaching you to fight, but you want me to teach you how to make yourself, like, whole? You want me to teach you how to heal yourself? And so we did, because when a guy that beats up professional people that beat up professional people for a living tells you to come try something, you try it. Like, you just give it a shot. And after one yoga session, we were all sold. We were all, on it. And it was amazing how that opened us all up into so many other things that guys like us typically wouldn't encounter or see. But, all these things, I think they have a close parallel. Meditation, yoga, Reiki, all these other things that are from these Eastern philosophies. And they do help you tune into yourself and the source, whether you call it God or Yahweh or Jehovah or whatever your name for Him is. It helps you tune in closer.
And helps you find peace within yourself.
And
peace and balance.
And that's part of it, is that He doesn't want to talk to you until you're balanced or until you have that peace, because you got to think about it. He's got a couple billion people trying to talk to him at once. Maybe that's his filtering system.
He can do that.
Yeah,
he can
go fix yourself.
Talk to everybody.
So speaking of God, and we're getting kind of close to the end here, but there's one thing that I really wanted to bring up, because I was listening to this Chasing Hermes podcast on the way over here. And I'll get into explaining that at another time. But they were talking about this guy named John Dee in the 1500s that was he was a confidant to Queen Mary. And he went through, and he was like a brilliant scientist or educated guy, and he couldn't find enough answers. So he started going off into like alchemical and other types of things. And somehow he made his way to this other person where they started doing crystal gazing and basically talking with angels. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing, because this guy was the confidant to the queen, and he was able to foresee a lot of things that were happening. And he is actually credited in some circles as being the reason the English Empire became the English Empire, because his foretelling of her horoscope, not the horoscope you find in the back of a newspaper, her real horoscope that this guy was laying out for, and seeing her future. Essentially, they were doing crystal ball gazing and seances with what he called angels. And he mentions these in the text that he writes about the Archangel. He says Michael, which I guess he means Michael.
Yes. And
he lays out a bunch of other ones. But it's interesting, because I guess they didn't know what they were doing at first, and they communicated with like a lower level angel, and their first communication with the angel was saying, here's the steps you need to do. If you want to talk to angels, you need to do this. They told him fashion a gold breastplate and put all these certain symbols and numbers on it so that he wouldn't be killed or harmed by the force of their communication. And when he did that, they allowed him to speak to a higher angel, and eventually he was speaking with the Archangel Michael. And this is not some random kook in a back alley huffing ether and just telling stories. This is the guy that was advising the Queen of England, and he's the one who told her, not her generals and admirals, he was the one who gave her the naval plans of how their armada should fight the Spanish Armada and the Portuguese and basically take over the world. And when you hear things like that, you got to put a little credence to it. So you talk about the Archangel Michael. I've heard you bring it up several times, and when things are very difficult, when you talk about these earthbound spirits that are so tightly ingrained and so powerful that you have trouble, you summon the Archangel Michael, right? So how does that come about? How did you get into that, and what does that...
Well, I took... I teach angel classes.
My wife actually did one here
certified
last
angel
week,
classes, yes, which I learned from Doreen Virtue's son, Charles Virtue. And you learn, and it's all about, again, bringing the vibration up and connecting with the angels and their signs, and you have to look for the signs, and it's a whole another ballpark here.
Yeah.
But yes, we work with archangels, we work with angels, and we do angel card readings, and it can be taught to anybody. It can be taught to anybody. You just have to want to learn. You have to be open to it. But everybody can learn to do it. But again, it's lifting the vibration up, keeping your vibration up to a high vibration. You can't talk to these beings in a higher dimension if you're staying in the low dimension.
Right.
You have to lift your vibration up to their vibration or really close to it in order to communicate with them.
Right.
But again, you've got to do the work. You've got to stay clear, clean. I mean, I stopped drinking not because I wanted to stop drinking or anything. It's because I chose to do this work, and for me to be a clear channel to do the Reiki or to get my angel card readings or to communicate with other dimensional beings, I want to stay at a high vibration. That means that I don't drink anymore.
Right.
Do drugs, anything like that, you know. But that's my choice, you know. I choose to do that. I like doing this work. I like communicating with the angels. I like giving the positive messages to people. To me, it's not a hard thing to do, to communicate with them. But again, I stay at a high vibration to do it.
That seems to be the key to anything. I mean, success in anything is just, you know, like if the high vibrational energy is the positive energy, I mean, that's the people that have their head down and are just poo-pooing everything and saying, well, today's going to be a bad day because I'm just not, I've got bad luck. Bad luck should be a 4-letter word. There's no such thing as bad luck. You bring your own bad luck. Just be happy. Think today's going to be the best day and set out to do something and do it. Don't let anybody ever tell you can't do it. Don't let anybody ever tell you you're going to fail. Figure out what you want to do. Figure out how to do it, and God damn it, go get it done. Like, just go do it. Go make it happen.
And ask for help.
Yeah.
There's beings on the other side in other dimensions that will help you. Or God, you know, angels, your angels. We all have guardian angels. Ask for their help. It's as easy as that. They will help you. Look for the signs. Like mine, was some guy knocking at my door with, you know, meditation tapes for me to, you know, and he didn't even know me.
It's amazing how many signs are out there if you're open to them and if you're looking for them and if you're willing to receive them. And I think that's a problem that people today, you want it to come, you want it to be easy. You want Oprah to tell it to you, or you want somebody to give it to you in the form of $1 million check. It ain't winning the lottery. It's giving you the keys to unlock your own potential. And sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard, but you got to be open. So, okay, we're getting close to the end, but there is one question, and I know this is probably not going to be anywhere, there's no way to make this one succinct, but being somebody that is in the business that you are, that does what you do and sees the things that you are, and you have that channeling power, and you are a lot more sensitive than most people. A lot of this podcast, I kind of talk about the world and things that are going on in the world. So knowing the things that you know that the average person wouldn't know and see, are you optimistic or are you pessimistic, or are you kind of in the middle for the state of humanity, the world? Or do you think we have a sunny future, or do you think we have a lot of work to do, or somewhere in between?
Well, definitely there's a lot of work to do. But I think that as a whole, if we all bring our vibrational level up, it can stay positive and it will be better. But as a whole, and that's why I do this work, one person at a time, help them bring their vibration up, bring them into a positive state. If everybody got that way and had that consciousness to them, this world will lift up.
And that's, a lot of people talked about that. There were a lot of people that said December 21st was going to be doom and gloom, the end of the world. A lot of other people talked about the age of Aquarius.
Going up into the fifth dimension, into a higher vibrational dimension. But it has to be as a whole. And that's why not just me, but everybody out there does this kind of work, this spiritual work. They're trying one person at a time, or through classes, whatever, 10 people, 100 people at a time, bringing that vibration up. So if we're all at the same vibration, like attracts like, we're going to have this positive energy in this world. I don't like to think of it as, I see a lot of negative stuff go on, but I still don't go into that negative space. I don't watch the news. I don't want to watch. I don't want to see the negativity in it. I don't want to wake up every morning and see the negative. I know what's out there. Mm-hmm. I've lived it. I've been there. So I don't want to go to that place. I want to keep myself at a high vibration. I won't watch it. Right. It's negative. I want to stay in a good space all day. Not that I'm putting my head in the sand. I'm not, because I know what's going on out there. But I'm better. It's better for me, and I can help with the world by doing the work I do, healing other people, or helping, being a channel for that, or teaching the classes I do to help everybody bring that vibration up, not to be in that negative space. So
that's a great thing, and I
don't want to put that negative energy out there for the world.
Yeah.
I want to keep it positive. What you put out there in the universe is what's going to come back. If we all put out there, it's going to be positive and things are going to change for the better, then that's what we're going to get back. So if everybody thought that way, we would live in a better place. But we are lacking love. People are lacking love out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things wrong.
I think unity. I think we've lost a lot of that.
That's
unity.
True. Yeah, that's true too. Yes,
we're trying to look at things in red versus blue, and Republican or Democrat or whatever it is, but we're trying to fracture ourselves. And even in the terms of our own country, people have forgot that we're Americans. That's it. We are Americans. We're all united as Americans. It doesn't matter if you're from California or Texas, or if you're Republican or Democrat. You're a person. You're an American. You're a human. You shouldn't not listen to somebody else because they voted for somebody else, who in the end they're all the same anyway. Like, why does it really matter that much? They'll say, people pretend to be different when they're up for election, and then magically when it's time to vote, they don't care what they said in the beginning. So, yeah. So this has been very interesting and very enlightening for me. I hope that we can do this again, because I have a long list of questions and things that I would love to go into with you if you'll be back. So I would love to have it.
Okay. Well, thank you.
So again, if you would like to get in touch with Jeannie, or if you want to come try Reiki or find out a little bit of Reiki, she teaches a ton of other classes that you can find out about on her website. My wife did the Angels. It was Angel Communication class last weekend. She's doing a telepathy class this weekend. A ton of different classes that if what is it? Mediumship and channeling. There are a lot of different types of classes. If you're like me and if you're interested in this kind of stuff, or even 1 foot in, 1 foot out, kind of skeptical, check it out. Because like me, I'm a very hard person to convince, and I am all in on this because I know there's something there. I know from what I've heard, from what I've found speaking with Jeannie, I know from what I've felt actually doing Reiki, and after I've done Reiki, it's amazing. And this is from a guy that spent his whole life as a Southern Baptist, and when I joined the Army, I started going to Catholicism because Southern Baptist wasn't hardcore enough for me. So this isn't like a sacrilegious. I know a lot of Christians are taught that anything outside of your specific denominational church is sacrilege, but it's not, like you said. I mean, she incorporates archangels and a lot of Christian mythology in there. it's a spirituality and it's a connection to yourself. So it's an amazing thing. Check out the Angels Touch Reiki Facebook page and check out angelstouchreiki.com. I'm going to put links to both of those on the farfromcenter.com website. So